Today's XRP news isn't about price movement. It's about infrastructure. Ripple has received preliminary approval for an electronic money institution, or EMI license in Luxembourg. And while this kind of headline doesn't usually excite traders, it's exactly the type of development that quietly shapes how a payments network is positioned over time. This isn't an announcement designed to create hype. It's not a pivot, and it's not a sudden change in strategy. It's a continuation, and that distinction matters more than it first appears. Ripple confirmed it has received what's often referred to as a green light letter from Luxembourg regulators. This moves the company closer to full EMI authorization under the country's financial framework. The approval comes through Luxembourg's financial regulator, the Commission de Surveillance du Secteur Financier, or CSSF. An EMI license allows a company to issue electronic money, provide regulated payment services, safeguard customer funds, operate across the European Union under passporting rules. This is not a marketing license. It's a compliance-heavy designation that comes with ongoing oversight and reporting obligations. So while the headline may look simple, the process behind it isn't. Luxembourg isn't chosen by accident. It's one of Europe's most established financial hubs, particularly for cross-border payments fund administration, regulated fintech, and institutional finance. Many global payments companies base European operations in Luxembourg specifically because approval there carries credibility across the EU. So when Ripple pursues licensing in Luxembourg, it's not about optics. It's about positioning within a jurisdiction that regulators and banks already trust. That signals something important. Ripple is aligning itself inside the regulatory framework, not building parallel systems outside of it. It's important to be very clear about what this does not mean. This does not mean XRP price is required to move. A major announcement is imminent. The market is about to react. Regulatory approvals almost never move price immediately. In fact, infrastructure news like this is often ignored by markets entirely in the short term, especially when broader sentiment is focused elsewhere. That lack of reaction isn't failure. It's simply how long-term developments behave in short-term markets. So if this kind of progress doesn't move price, why does Ripple continue pursuing licenses like this? Because payments don't scale without compliance. Ripple's strategy has always centered around regulated payment rails, institutional access, enterprise-grade settlement. Those goals require working within regulatory systems, not waiting for clarity to magically appear. Licenses like this take time, resources, and legal effort. But they're foundational if the goal is long-term utility rather than short-term speculation. Luxembourg is another step in that process. Europe is currently one of the most structured regulatory environments for digital assets, especially as frameworks like MiCA move toward full implementation. An EMI license positions Ripple to operate payment services legally across EU member states, integrate stablecoin and settlement products under clear rules, work with banks and institutions that require strict regulatory compliance. This is slow, procedural work. But historically, this is how financial infrastructure is built, quietly, incrementally, and often without fanfare. This is where frustration often shows up for XRP holders. People see regulatory progress, geographic expansion, institutional positioning, but they don't see immediate price response. That creates a disconnect, the feeling that progress isn't translating into results. In reality, foundational progress often looks like this: structured, boring, and largely ignored until conditions change. Markets rarely reward groundwork in real time. Even if price doesn't react today, developments like this matter, because they reduce friction over time. They lower barriers to adoption, make integrations easier, reduce regulatory uncertainty. These things don't create headlines, but they shape what's possible later. When payment systems expand, they don't do it through sudden moments. They do it through accumulated permissions. When you step back, this Luxembourg move fits into a broader pattern. Ripple continues to prioritize regulated jurisdictions, expand methodically rather than aggressively position itself where institutions already operate. Whether markets reward that approach today is almost irrelevant. The strategy itself is consistent. and consistency matters more than momentum when it comes to infrastructure. Ripple expanding its regulatory footprint in Luxembourg isn't a moment. It's part of a process. It doesn't change XRP overnight. It doesn't promise anything next week. But it does reinforce a pattern that's been in place for years. Building payment infrastructure where regulation, institutions, and real-world usage intersect. And whether markets care right now or not, that positioning tends to matter later, often long after the headlines have moved on.